Okay. Thank you, Chloe. Thanks for calling me back to do another class with your group. I'm excited to be here today. Since we stopped doing classes at the Anaheim location, live classes, which is what we used to do, since we stopped doing that in March, we took a pause and then we restarted thinking about it because there was a lot of people out there that still wanted us to have these classes. So we've been doing Zoom classes and it's been super fun for me and for the people that are on the class. I think one of the great things about it is that you do get to cook along if that's what you want to do. And that way, if you're making something and you're unsure, I'm doing it with you and you can say, hey, is this supposed to look like? Hey, am I doing this right? This looks great, or it smells wonderful, and we can sort of experience that at the same time. So I think that's really fun for all of us. So if you have questions, if you have any questions, like you read through the recipes and you're like, well, I don't understand this, or I don't like, there was a question earlier, she doesn't like cilantro and she doesn't like cloves. So generally all across the board, I will always say, if you are making a recipe, whether it's mine or somebody else's, if there's an ingredient in that recipe that you can't stand, you don't like cilantro, you don't like raw onions, you can't eat something else, just don't put it in there. Because the problem with putting something in there, yeah, it'll taste like the recipe, but you're not gonna enjoy it and you're cooking it for yourself or for some other people. And you cook to enjoy food. So that's a thing. Another thing, just like a general thing, is before you start making anything, if you're using a recipe, go ahead and read through the recipe all the way through. So you kind of give yourself like a plan of action, like you know what order things are gonna happen in. So you're less likely to be like, oh no, I don't have this thing that I need because now the oil's too hot, or now I turned it off and it's too cold, and you're less likely to have more drama. The other thing that's really important is to clean as you go. Just in general, that's an important thing to do. Just leave less mess at the end. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the recipes we're making today. They are Super Bowl themed only because it's Super Bowl tomorrow. These are just great appetizers. I have in the last probably like year become obsessed with dips. And I try to make dips for everything. And I love dips, and I eat them with bread, and I eat them with chips. And I already love chips, so it's just my way of increasing my chip consumption, I think. So the dip today we're making is a yogurt-based dip. And I have found that a lot of the dips that I make are yogurt-based because it makes me feel like I did something healthy for myself and for my husband because we're eating chips. And I feel like it adds the right amount of creaminess, but there's that tang from yogurt that I really enjoy. This one also has walnuts, which I think work really well with this dip because they add a very soft crunch. So it's not not intense. It's sort of like a texture more than a crunch. Spinach, and then the final thing, which is called the tarka in your recipe, is a tempering, and that goes in last. And that's like a final flavoring, and that's a method that you use if you ever make a lentils or a dal. Traditionally, you'll boil the lentils, and then you'll make what's called the tarka separately and add it to the top. And then the second recipe we're doing is the beef or Beyond Meat Keema sliders. So the word Keema means ground meat. It can be chicken Keema, it can be beef Keema, it can be lamb Keema. In our case, it could be Beyond Meat Keema. And then I gave you guys pickled onions in your little bags, ones that we made in the restaurant that are pink, because I think they're a really lovely, bright, colorful, and bright in flavor addition to that bite. And there's a little note in your recipes on how to do those if you like them. In the process, does anyone have questions on anything so far? I don't know if there were any. If you do, you can either unmute yourself or raise your hand. No.
And feel free to unmute as we go.
Yeah, if you have a question. So the first thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna start with the
have the recipes somewhere else, so let's just listen to it.
I'm gonna start with the onion dip because I think it benefits from sort of sitting together and letting the flavors meld together. So we'll make it and then we'll put it in the fridge while we're making the keema, and then we'll eat it all together at the end. So the ingredients list for this spinach onion dip is fairly simple. Your recipe says plain Greek yogurt. You can use non-fat. The non-fat yogurt I prefer that has the least amount of, it's like the least acidic and feels the least non-fat flavor is Chobani. But you can use full fat or low fat or whatever you want. Ideally, you want to use a Greek yogurt so that you have the thickness. The yellow onion for this, you already had chopped. Baby spinach. Everybody's already got their spinach chopped. I have mine chopped. There you go. Olive oil, minced garlic. So you have a container with lots of garlic in it. You're only going to use 4 teaspoons of that right now, and then the rest of it is for the keema. So keep that in mind. Roasted cumin powder, you have a little package of it, and I'm just going to go through how to make roasted cumin powder because it's very different from regular cumin powder. So I'm going to do that first. And then the walnuts, everybody got walnuts to toast and crush or chop up. Those are what mine look like. Lemon juice. Everyone has a little container with lemon juice, but it has more lemon juice than what your recipe calls for. Your recipe only calls for a teaspoon, but you can add more if you need more. Otherwise, you can make lemonade after class. And then the mint tarka, you have dried mint and chili flakes and good olive oil. Those, if you can see those. Oh, that's okay. So the first thing is, let's talk about roasted cumin for a minute. So cumin seeds look like this. There's a question.
Can I record this? We are
recording this and it will be sent to you guys shortly after class. So these are regular whole cumin seeds. One thing I will recommend generally is, if you can, as much as you can, try to buy your spices whole and get a coffee grinder that you only use for spices and use that to grind as much as you need for a month, max 2 months. It just changes the flavor of what you're really using, because if you buy already ground spices, you don't know when it was ground, and over time they lose their flavor. So to dry roast cumin, there's nothing in the pan, it's dry, it's warm, and I just sort of put in a layer of cumin seeds, if you guys can see that. And I'm going to just, it's on a medium-low flame. I'm gonna let them get fragrant and a little shade darker, and then I'll pull them off, and then I like to keep that around because roasted cumin powder is an integral spice in raita, so I use it a lot there. It's really great for salads, just to sprinkle with like lime and salt on cucumbers or something like that. And the difference in flavor between roasted cumin and unroasted cumin is very different. So if you have a recipe that calls for roasted cumin and you use unroasted or vice versa, you are changing the flavor of that dish. Another tip for the coffee grinder, if you buy the coffee grinder and say you grind a whole bunch of cardamom in it one day, but the next day you need to grind cumin in it, but it still smells like cardamom. If you grind some raw rice in that grinder, it'll help take that smell out. So that's just a little tip on keeping your grinder clean. So this isn't necessarily something I would recommend doing in the oven, only because I find when you toast stuff in the oven, whether it's spices or nuts, the tendency to be able to forget about it is higher. So you can forget about it and get a phone call or go outside to check the mail, and then by the time you remember is when it's already burnt. So that's another thing. So once this gets to a shade darker brown and it's already fragrant, I can smell it. I don't know if you guys can sort of see the steam that's coming off of it. But immediately this has to be taken out so that it stops cooking in the hot pan. And then we'll cool it down before we grind it, and then it would become the powder that you can have. If you are toasting a spice and you walk away or something happens and you come back and it's black, just get rid of it and start over.
Is there anything we're supposed to buy ahead of time other than Greek yogurt, Jeff?
Anything you're supposed to buy?
I'm not sure if you have serrano and ginger.
Serrano and ginger should be in the kit that you have, if you got the kit. And that we're going to use for the keema. There's no serrano and ginger for the dip. So the dip only has yogurt, onion, spinach, garlic, walnut, mint, and chili flakes. Does that help answer your question?
Oh, see people just have an ingredient list.
Oh. Well, you're going to need serranos and ginger for the keema. But we'll email the recipes to everyone, I guess, that's on that doesn't have them currently. Okay, we're gonna get started. For those of us who are cooking together, I'm gonna get started on the dip. So first things first, yogurt. You're gonna put salt, lemon juice, and your roasted cumin powder. And you'll notice as I cook, oh, by the way, salt, note about salt. I am using kosher salt for everything. If you use regular iodized table salt, you will need less than what your recipe calls for, because that is a little bit saltier. Himalayan salt is also saltier than kosher salt. So just adjust accordingly based on what kind of salt you're using. So here, my yogurt is mixed. I am gonna take a little taste to see if I need to add a little salt. Yeah.
Salt, yogurt, and lemon so far. Also cumin, Stella.
Roasted cumin. Salt, lemon juice, roasted cumin, and yogurt are in the bowl and they're ready. And in the pan, we're gonna do olive oil or whatever kind of oil you use in your house. And over medium heat, we're gonna add onions. And then remember, it's only 4 teaspoons of the garlic, not all of it. So only 4 teaspoons of the garlic that came in your package is going into this pan. Okay. I am adding a pinch of salt. So far, and I'll keep mine very low so everybody's with me, I have olive oil, onions, and 4 teaspoons of garlic.
How about now? Is it working now?
And you want this to stay on a medium-low flame because you don't want a lot of color on the onions, but you do want them to get translucent and soft. And it's going to already smell delicious. So for those of you that have ingredients in different places, the next thing we're going to add once this is ready is going to be the spinach. So you want to keep that nearby. It's going to be a couple of minutes until we do get it, but that's what we're going to add next. So far, we have a bowl with yogurt, cumin, lemon juice, and salt. And in our pan, we are currently sauteing onions and garlic with a pinch of salt. How's everybody doing? I see a thumbs up. I see another thumbs up. Yeah, okay. Great. And sometimes when you're in the middle of a class, you run out of fuel. Okay.
Kathy says it smells yummy.
It's gonna be so yummy when we're done with it. So mine has a little color, but that's as much color as I really want to get on there at all. I'll show it to you guys. But there's still some that aren't quite translucent. So I'm going to turn down my heat so that they get cooked a little bit further, but without getting color. We're gonna do probably another minute or so here. You wanna grab your spinach if you don't have it already.
So how much roasted cumin powder was in the bag? We might have dumped the whole thing in.
Yeah, you're supposed to dump the whole thing. It was just 1 teaspoon. So I'll tell you, everything that you have is measured, except for you have extra lemon juice and you had extra garlic. But the extra garlic is for the other recipe. So when we get to the other recipe, you're gonna dump the rest of it in there.
See everybody cooking.
Which is great, it's so fun. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and add my spinach to the onion. Someone said they had what?
The pan, does it have just garlic and onion?
That is just garlic and onion with some salt. The person that said I had 3 teaspoons of cumin,
Kathy.
you might have used the cumin seed and not the cumin powder. Is that possible? This is what cumin seed looks like, if you can see that. Ooh.
Hi, it's Kathy. No,
Hi,
my packet just had tons. It was filled to the brim, so which is fine. I'll just save it and use it in something else.
Do you have another larger packet that says garam masala?
I do.
There was a garam masala.
I do.
Interesting. That seems strange, but all right. I'm glad you took a look at it, and sorry for the confusion.
No problem.
They mixed it in.
All right, so I'm gonna add spinach to my pan.
We're not doing it.
No, we're doing the seeds are for the keema with the next recipe. We're not using the seeds right now.
Stella, is that okay with you? You can unmute. Okay. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask Chef Shachi.
Okay, so I dumped all my spinach into the pan. I'm going to slowly mix it in. And you want to keep it on a lower flame. Just looking for the spinach to wilt and get bright green. I am going to add another pinch of salt. I like to salt things as I go so that you're not just adding salt at the very end. And the reason for that is that salt acts like a highlighter to your food. So every time you add salt to an ingredient, it gets an opportunity to like be a better version of itself. So you want this to be totally mixed together and all the spinach to be wilted. And little trick, this mixture also makes a fantastic filling for phyllo dough with feta cheese. Okay, I'm going to show you what mine looks like because all my spinach is wilted and I turned it off and I'm going to take it off of the heat. Is everybody with me?
Looks like everybody's right there. Great, Kathy's with us.
Okay. Great. We're going to set this aside because we need it to cool down a little bit before we add it to the yogurt. So take a minute to get rid of stuff you don't need that's in your space. And you're gonna bring your yogurt back and you're gonna need your walnuts nearby. So we're gonna do two things. One is we're gonna let that cool for just another minute while we fold in our walnuts. So your walnuts should be toasted and chopped up or broken with the corner of a knife. Everybody has that, that was already done. So you're gonna save about a tablespoon for garnish. Just put them in a little container on the side because things should look pretty too. So I just have these set aside for the top. And I'm gonna dump the rest of my walnuts into the yogurt. So that's where we're at right now.
Is everybody with us still? Yeah, okay, great. Zach's with us.
Everybody good on the step we're on? Yeah,
Thumbs
I
up.
see thumbs ups.
Amy's good. Molly,
Yay.
Amanda.
Okay,
Jocelyn, are you okay?
okay. Okay, we're gonna add our spinach and onion mixture to, Amy, do you have a question? I think Amy, no,
No.
good. Add your spinach and onion mix to the yogurt and walnut mix. Okay. All of it's in there, and I'm just gonna fold it in. And the reason, I didn't tell you guys this in the beginning, but the reason we're making the dip first is because it benefits from staying in the fridge together for a little while. So we're gonna use the time that we make the keema to do that. So at this point, ideally what you wanna do is put it in the dish you're gonna serve it in. I'm gonna serve it in this dish, so I'm just gonna leave it here. And if you're gonna serve it or eat it out of the dish that you're making it in now, then you just leave it in there too.
Kathy is saying the spinach is still warm. Is that
Yes,
okay? Yes.
that's okay. It's gonna be a little bit warm, but we're gonna put everybody in the fridge together. You want it to be a little warm so that they have more time to get to know each other, share flavors. Is anybody changing their container? No, so we should wait. Okay. So the next step is actually very easy, but you have to have all your stuff close by.
Can you show what it looks like inside?
Yep.
For everyone? Let's see.
This is what it looks like for, I'm gonna have Mona pull it forward.
Let's see if this looks a little bit better. Can everyone see
Can
that?
everybody see that?
How it's
Yes.
mixed through?
Yes.
Yours should look like that.
Okay. Now, try to find something small, a small pan, a small sauce pot, or a small saute pan. Sometimes you might have a metal one cup measuring cup. If you have that, that'll work, but something small that we're gonna cook in. Everybody got something? Okay. And now very close to you, or very close to your stove, you need to have your oil. You can put your oil, about a 1/4 cup, into your dish that you're cooking in. And this is the tempering. This is the tarka. This is the thing that goes at the end to add infused flavor. And anytime you're making a tarka, you can actually put, you can put cumin seeds, you can put chili powder, you can put bay leaves. There's a lot of things you can add at the end of something that add a freshness, a brightness, and another layer of flavor to your dish. So you need to have your olive oil in your little pot or pan, whatever you're using. Turn it on to medium, and now you need to have your chili flake and your mint. They've got to be close by. Put them somewhere where you can reach them. You can dump the little bags that you have, you can dump them both into the same little bowl if you want, but not into the oil just yet. Let me make sure everybody's with me. Everybody with me? Okay, so I'm gonna check if my oil is hot enough by putting in one little chili flake. And I see tiny, you can't see that, but there's tiny, tiny bubbles that form around that chili flake. So drop one little chili flake in your oil and see if anything happens. If nothing happens, you're, well, you want me to walk over and show? Here you mean? No, it won't show. If nothing happens, that means your oil's too cold. Wait a minute. If you see tiny bubbles like fizz, then you're ready. Does everybody kind of see where I'm at with that? Let's see, do you have that happening?
Got some thumbs up?
Yeah, some thumbs up. Okay, so turn off the oil and then dump the chili flakes and the mint into that hot oil. Swirl it around. This part you gotta see. Can you tilt that?
Yes.
Dried mint. Dried mint is in a little bag, dried mint and chili flakes.
Can you see?
Can you guys see what this looks like?
I'm going the wrong way. Hold on. There you go.
There. Okay. We're gonna dump that whole thing. You can use a spoon so that it feels a little more graceful. We're gonna spoon it over the top. Now, one of the great things about this dip is that it looks pretty cool when you have that in there. You can see mine. And then when you eat it, you kind of mix it up with your chips or your bread or whatever you're gonna eat it with. I'm gonna sprinkle the walnuts that I saved on top. And this is what my final dip looks like. How's everybody else looking?
Let's see. Show us your dips.
Show us your dips.
Vicky looks awesome.
Mmm,
Amy's looks awesome.
great.
Let's let everyone catch up.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing?
Beautiful. Who's that? Zach.
Zach,
Nice.
Annie and Leon, how are you guys doing? Do you mix the parka in?
The tarka, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I just poured it on top. You're gonna mix it when you eat it because part of leaving it on top is gonna be the presentation of it. So the oil and the flavor will seep through the yogurt, but part of the presentation of it is the drama of having the tarka on top with the walnuts. And with every bite, you get sort of like a more intense flavor. If you want to sneak a bite of it right now, you can. It'll taste good. But ideally, once we're ready and you like it, let's put it in the fridge and get to the next recipe because we're going to come back and eat that later.
How are you doing, Justin? Molly? Max? Okay.
I have a quick question.
Tim, you're on.
Yep.
Did you pour the olive oil as well on top with the mixture of the mint
Yeah.
and everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
the whole thing.
Awesome, Tim.
Beautiful.
All right.
I'm going to put mine in the fridge.
I have a question.
Everybody,
How long does the dip last?
it's yogurt. I mean, I haven't done any experiments because we haven't made it past like 3 or 4 days without finishing it. I would say probably a week.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, in the fridge, it should be good for about a week. We've eaten it faster than that, so I can't say that it would take less or more time.
We would love for you guys to take some photos and then send them over to the Great Park Neighborhood email, which is info@gpngreatlife.com. I'll send it to everyone. Or Chloe, you can message everyone with that email address and they'll share them too. We're super excited.
We'll
They're
share them
beautiful.
too.
Yep.
We'll post them on our Adia page. You can tag us if you post it.
Yes, and please, if you do post these pictures, tag us on Instagram at adiaoc.com. AdiaOC is our Instagram handle, and on Facebook, we're just Facebook.com/AdiaOC. Thank you, Chloe.
Okay.
All right, is everybody in the fridge? Are we ready to move on?
How are you guys feeling? Ready? All right, let's talk about what we need for the next recipes. Cumin seeds, whole seeds. You should have a little bag of them. The whole seeds. Yes? All right. Cloves tied with a string. So the reason for this is because I feel like some people, including myself, the first time someone told me to do this, I was like, what? Why would I do that? And the reason for this is so that you can take them out at the end. Because nobody really wants to like chew on a clove. We just want the flavor and the warmth of the clove in the dish. We don't want to have to chew on it later. So if you're ever gonna tie it yourself, just get a piece of kitchen twine, make a little, and it doesn't matter if your string is small or big. Small just makes it harder. Then you're gonna make a little hole and tie it. And 2, we did little tiny strings, but 2, and then the 3rd one. And yours are already done, so you have those. We have our clove string, our cumin seed. You should have diced your medium onion already. Everyone have their diced onion? Yes, yes. Okay. And you have the remainder of the garlic, which is a 1/4 cup. You have minced serrano. I have a 1/4 cup, but I like my food spicy, and these particular serranos are very spicy. Yeah. So if you are sensitive to spice, don't put the whole thing in. Put a tiny pinch in, put half of it in. You know your own level of tolerance for heat, and you have to adjust accordingly. Serranos and ginger. Minced ginger. I do want to talk about minced garlic and minced ginger if you're buying it at the store. Minced garlic comes in a bunch of different ways. And the only thing I will say is always try to buy something, if you're buying something that's already processed, try to buy something that doesn't have anything weird in it. Like it's not, shelf-stable garlic is not okay. There's frozen minced garlic that you can get that just has garlic and I think salt. And they have little frozen ginger cubes that just have ginger and lemon juice or something. That's fine. If you don't use ginger that much and you're like, well, I don't really need to buy all this ginger. If you get, say, a large piece of ginger, you can peel it with a peeler or you can peel it with a spoon. And that's basically, you just scrape it off. It's super, super easy. Cut it up into small pieces and pulse it through your food processor. And if you have extra, you can make tiny mountains on a little plate, put them in the freezer. Once they're frozen, throw them in a little bag or a little container. And that way you have little portions of ginger every time you need them and you did it yourself. So ginger, serrano, diced tomatoes, which I gave you. We're using canned diced tomatoes because it's easy and tomatoes aren't not in season. And pretty much all good diced tomatoes are coming from California tomatoes. They're just picked at their peak and it's fine to use them. I always have a can of diced tomatoes at my house, either diced or whole or something, because they're just good to have because you can use them for anything. And then ground beef or the Beyond Meat. So I have mine. Chili powder, again, if you're sensitive to spice, you're not going to use chili powder. You're not going to put it in at all. Garam masala, you guys have. That is our blend of garam masala. Garam masala is a spice blend that has usually anywhere between like 12 and 15 different spices. And every household has their own recipe for it. The one that you have is our recipe at Adia. We have little packages of it that we sell. You have enough in your package for this recipe. You're going to use all of it. Salt, you have your own salt. And cilantro. If you're anti-cilantro, don't put it in there. It's fine. And your cilantro should already be chopped. Mine's already chopped. And another thing about cilantro. I'm a person that loves cilantro, and the most flavor you'll get from cilantro is from the stems. So don't pull the leaves off and only use the leaves. If you like cilantro and the flavor, you want to chop up the stems. You want to chop them up finely so you're not chewing on stems, but you want to chop them up finely. So we have all of our ingredients. I'm going to get my pan. Okay, so your first instruction is going to be to add the oil to the pan. And your recipes will say either olive oil or oil. Generally, if you only use canola oil or you only use avocado oil, then you should go ahead and use that. All that does is that it adds a little bit of a different flavor here or there depending on what kind of oil you're using, but you're already used to that and that's what you've been using. You don't have to change your oil, not for these recipes. So it's on sort of a medium high-ish heat. And this one we might have to focus in on the pan. And we have our clove string and our cumin seeds. So while we're waiting for this to heat up, I see that it has the little shimmer that I'm looking for, but to check if my oil's okay, I'm going to add a couple of seeds in to see if anything happens. And I'm gonna kind of zoom in so you can see that. Can you zoom in? So that you can see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Oh, I wonder if you can change their view. Huh? All right. Oh, this is perfect. So here's what you're looking for. I'm going to put 2 in, and you see how they kind of fizz about a little bit? There's a little bit of action. That's what we're looking for. Now, if I were to put them in and they turned black, then I would stop, change the oil, and go back. So I'm going to add my cumin seeds. So you can see what's happening here. Quickly with the string. You can kind of hear them. They're like snap, crackle, fizzy, and then immediately follow it with the onion. And the onion is going to cool down the pan, so stop the cumin seeds from burning. Mix this up. We're gonna add our garlic. The ginger. Pretty loud. And I'm gonna add half of the serrano. But you can add all of it. It will make it a little spicier. You can add less if that's what you need. You can add none if that is what you would prefer. You definitely want to add a pinch of salt. Because like I said, salt's the highlighter. And it'll really help all of your ingredients get to know each other better.
Is everybody with us? If you're not with us, you can definitely unmute and let us know.
Everybody's good with where we're at? Any questions?
So I have this on medium high.
Hey, do you have garlic in there yet?
Do garlic, ginger, serrano, and onion, and the cumin seed and the clove string, and a pinch of salt. I am going to organize my space a little because now there's some stuff that I don't need around me.
Let's see how everyone's doing. Thumbs up for everyone.
So your next two ingredients that are gonna be after this is brown is gonna be the tomato and the chili powder if you're using it. But it's gonna be a few minutes.
Chef, this is Kathy. What
Hi, Kathy.
the chili powder, is that just do you know what chilies it is? We just have an allergy here against cayenne.
Oh, then I wouldn't use it.
Okay, don't use it. Perfect. I'll just can use another chili powder I usually use.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for checking that. Yeah. So with Indian food, there is a level of patience. So like this part, we could go do something else in the meantime. Maybe we're cleaning, maybe we're doing something else, because this doesn't need like constant attention, but you also can't just leave it alone. So you have to come back and check on it. You have to stir it up. You don't want it to stick. If it does stick, the easiest way without altering the flavor too much is to get a little tiny bit of water and pour it on the spot where it's sticking. So sort of deglaze with water, because water will evaporate and not affect the flavor of your final dish.
Did you add the tomatoes already?
No, the tomatoes are not going to go in until the onions are done. So that's very important when you're cooking something like this. And generally with Indian food, if you're starting like the base of a curry or the base of a vegetable dish, you always want your first ingredient to cook thoroughly before you add the next ingredient. So in this case, the onions have to be totally cooked before we add the tomato, and then the tomato will have to be thoroughly cooked before we add the ground meat or Beyond Meat, whichever one we do. I am going to put a little bit of water. I just added a little bit of water to my pan because it was sticking in a spot.
If yours is not sticking, you don't need to do that.
Is the tomato added on yet or no?
A little bit.
Is the tomato added on?
Can you guys hear us okay?
No, she hasn't added the tomato yet.
I
Okay.
have not had the
Thank you.
tomato. No tomato. Here, let me show you what I look like.
Thank you, thank you.
Can you guys hear me still? So it's still just onion, ginger, garlic, serrano.
If I did add the tomatoes, did I completely screw up?
You're just gonna need.
We missed that. You're muted now.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. No, it's not the end of the world. Your dish will take a little bit longer to cook because you're waiting for the tomatoes and the onions, and you won't have as much caramelized onion flavor, which is okay. It's not the end of the world. It's not a disaster.
Vicky's asking, when do we add the garam masala?
Garam masala usually goes at the end of a dish because it's already toasted. Everything in garam masala is already toasted, and it's generally used as a finishing spice. And you are correct, it doesn't say it in your recipe. When I made this last night again, I realized that it's missing from, if you have the written recipes, add to the statement that says finish with cilantro. You're gonna finish it with cilantro and garam masala. So not yet, but if you write it on your recipe, you will remember. So we're starting to see, I'm starting to see some color on my onions. I don't know how far along you guys are, if you're further or closer. Here's where mine are at. So they're starting to be a little bit of color. I do want them to get a little bit more brown than that, so I'm gonna wait probably another 5 minutes or so, 4 or 5. The person that you already added your tomato, make sure you add a pinch of salt to your dish and turn it down on medium low so that it's cooking slowly versus fast. So with cooking, generally, if you do something in the wrong order, it's fixable. Baking is another story. Baking is a little bit more scientific. So if you forget something or add the wrong ingredient, you might have to restart.
So Ashley said she never knew golden brown meant this brown. She's been undercooking her onions for years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, now you're going to change the flavor of everything you ever made. Okay. So this is kind of the color that I'm looking for. And at this point, I'm not worried about what's sticking on the bottom because I know that the tomato is going to unstick it. I'm going to deglaze my pan. Everybody see that? Everybody with me? All right. Okay. I'm going to add the tomato now. I'm going to add the whole thing. So that little container of tomato you have all goes in here now.
Okay, you're gonna add a pinch of salt. And if you're using chili powder, then now is your time to add that. If you are not using it, then you can avoid it. Now I still have this on a medium-high heat. And the thing with tomatoes, there's a couple of clues for us to know when it's ready. We're waiting for the moisture to evaporate, and eventually you'll start to see some of the oil being released on the sides. And that's gonna be your visual clue that this step is complete and you can add your next ingredient. And what that basically tells you is that the tomatoes are cooked through. There's no more raw tomato taste or raw tomato smell. Because if that stays in your dish, then that stays to the end. There's no way to get it out later.
Everybody okay?
Everybody with me?
Annie and Leon, are you with us?
Hi, I have a question.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Can you repeat that whole step about the tomatoes when you can tell it's ready?
Yeah, so tomatoes, so right now when we added them in, there's gonna be liquid everywhere, right? It's tomato liquid mixed with the water from the onions and stuff like that. When the tomatoes are done, most of that moisture will be absorbed or released, and you're gonna start to see oil released on the sides. And when we get to that stage, I'll show you what my pan looks like. And basically, that's your visual clue that the tomatoes are cooked through. So if you smell it right now, you'll be able to smell that raw tomato smell, and we really don't want that in our final product. So we're gonna cook that out. So two ways you can tell. One is by smell, so you're smelling for raw tomato smell, and two is the visual, which is gonna be the release of oil from the sides, which hasn't happened yet. We're still in, there's still a lot of, not a lot, but there's still liquid in my pan.
That's what we have going on.
So this is what's happening here. So if you can see, there's these little pockets of liquid. We're waiting for all of that. Oh, that looks so pretty on screen. We're waiting for that to be gone. So it's gonna take a couple of minutes, and I am still on medium high.
Okay, everybody's still browning. Let's see. Okay, people are still browning. If your onions are not that brown, keep going.
Oh yeah, just keep going. If we're still, actually, if you're on the onion stage, I can turn mine off and wait for you to catch up.
Does gas versus induction make a difference?
Are they on induction?
No, this is a general question.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't. But I can slow mine down. Are you guys on onions? Yes.
We
They're
are.
on onions. Okay. Anyone else's? There's a couple of
Josh's.
Okay, so if the people that are still on onions, I'm gonna slow mine down so that you can catch up.
What?
So the tomatoes, that looks lovely.
Zach, that looks amazing.
We still have, it still needs to cook more though, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
What do we do with the mint?
Who's asking?
Trisha.
The dried mint?
Yeah.
The dried mint should have been in your tarka for the dip. Did you, for the dip, when you did the final tarka with olive oil and chili flake, did you put chili flake and olive oil in it?
Just olive oil, not chili flake.
So you heated up olive oil and that's it?
Olive oil with mint.
Oh, you did put mint.
We just didn't put the chili flakes just because like we don't like too spicy.
Oh, then that's fine.
Oh, okay. And then that we add onto the dip, the mint.
That goes on top of your dip. Yeah. Pour that on top of the dip, that whole mixture, the olive oil with the mint, and in your case, no chili flakes. That
Oh,
gets onto the dip.
and we don't mix it up, correct? We just like place it on.
But it's going to get mixed up when you eat it anyway, and it's just prettier to look at it with the stuff on top.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Chef.
Okay,
So,
good.
Josh has a quick question. Can you explain how to bloom the cumin seeds and cloves?
Yes, so that's what we did in the very beginning of this recipe, and any recipe where you're using whole seeds in the beginning. You want to heat up the oil, and blooming is basically when you add a whole seed to hot oil, it releases the flavor from that seed. And you want to check by checking to see if your oil's hot enough or too cold. What you're going to do is drop a couple of seeds in to the pan to see if they kind of fizzle about a little bit. You're looking for a little bit of action. If they go in and it gets smoky and turns black, you got to get rid of the whole thing and start over. If you dump them in and they just sit there and nothing happens, that means your oil's too cold and you want to wait a little bit longer. Generally, when you're blooming whole seeds in the beginning of a dish, you do want to have whatever your next ingredient is going to be, whether it's onions or ginger or garlic or tomato. You want to have that nearby, because once the seeds are in there and they're bloomed, which means they've sort of swollen up or changed color slightly and flavored that oil, you want to have the next ingredient ready to cool down the pan so that they stop cooking so much.
Okay, so Suzanne, she has everything except the cumin seed. Is it possible to use cumin powder as a substitute? And will it change the recipe too much?
You can add cumin powder to the recipe instead of cumin seed. It will be a little bit different than what our final product is going to be like in terms of flavor, but it's not going to be the end of the world. What I would do is add that cumin powder when you add the tomato. So with the tomato is when you would add the cumin powder, not in the very beginning. So you generally aren't going to put a powder in a hot oil in the beginning, but you can add it later so that it flavors the dish and doesn't fry up, so to speak.
Okay. Shanna, you're on the tomato. Brooks, do you have a question?
I'm on tomato. Should it be medium heat and kind of boiling with the tomatoes in it?
You can do medium high.
Okay.
Just stay nearby and stir it often.
Okay.
I'm going to turn mine back on because now everybody's on tomato.
Stella wants to know, when do we add the garam masala?
So garam masala is going to be at the end. That's a finishing spice because everything is toasted in the mixture already. It doesn't need a lot of time in your dish. It's more like a finishing thing. So after we add in the protein, whether that's the Beyond Meat or the ground beef, and that's cooked, that's when we're going to add the garam masala. It's not in the recipe, you are correct. You want to add that note to your recipe, to the sentence right after where it says, crumble in ground beef or Beyond Meat crumbles with salt and cook over medium heat, low heat until cooked through and starting to brown. And then it says finish with cilantro and cool slightly. So you're going to finish it with cilantro and garam masala. You want to add that note to your recipe if you haven't done that already.
Is this more or less finished?
It's close, but I
Okay.
don't think I can see the oil on the sides yet.
Okay. All right.
If you can you sort of see oil along the sides and in the nooks and crannies and not
There's some-
water?
I don't know if it's water or oil.
It'll be shiny like oil, not like,
Okay.
I will show you mine. Mine is close, it's not quite there yet. Let's show yours. So here's where mine is at, but the liquid that I see here is still water. So I'm waiting for that to go so you can kind of see, I don't know if you guys can really see, but this stuff that you see bubbling along the edges and stuff, that's gonna become like brighter red and shiny, and it'll look like oil when it's ready. So this is not it yet. We're close, but we're not there yet. You'll also notice that it'll stop sticking as much. It'll kind of just be released from the pan once it starts to release the oil. Once your tomatoes are sort of cooked down, you want to have nearby your protein, whether that's the Beyond Meat or the ground beef. You want to have that somewhere close.
Does this look close?
I didn't hear that. Close? Can you repeat your question? I didn't hear it.
Brooks right here. Let's see it again, Brooks.
Can you go closer? I think it's close.
Still bubbling.
I know, but is it?
Oh, look, he has red oil around the edge.
He does? Yeah. Let me go look close. Hold on. Oh, I think you're ready. I think I see oil in your dish.
Okay.
Before you add your protein, I do want you to take your clove string out if you can find it. I mean, the idea of it being on a string is so that you do find it. So you can take your clove string out and throw it away, because you don't want to serve that to somebody on a bun. The other way to know is if you smell it, you'll see that there's a change from when we first started with the tomato and there was that raw tomato smell. That should be almost gone. And the sound changes too, which I seem to really have been focused on just now. It sounds like frying now.
So while we're waiting for everyone to finish their tomatoes, I thought you tell us a little bit about your restaurant.
Oh, sure. So we do have 2 locations of Adia. There's one inside the packing house. That's in Anaheim, and that one's open Wednesday through Sunday right now. We do have outdoor seating, so we are open for takeout and delivery and to dine out. And then we have one location at UCI in University Town Center. And that one's open 7 days a week from 11 to 7. And there's some tables outside for outdoor dining if that's what you want to do, but you can also order online or Postmates or DoorDash or Grubhub or Uber Eats. We do all of those. Coming up, we have a Valentine's dinner for 2, where we're doing a garlic chili lobster or a stuffed squash with truffled farro. And that'll come with asparagus and naan and saffron rice. We're doing like an Indian aphrodisiac dinner for 2. And that's a pre-order dinner. You can send us an email and pre-order that. It's refrigerated, so something that you would reheat at home. You'd have instructions. The only part you would cook is the lobster, and that comes with instructions as well. It's just ready to go into the oven or the grill. And that's because if we pre-cook your lobster, it's not going to taste good by the time you reheat it. So that's coming up. We're also at a pop-up market on Fridays in Orange. We do a farmer's market on Saturdays in Orange. So we've been doing a lot of different stuff during this time. Here you're at. All right. So can you guys see the difference between where I was and where I am? It's drier. So most of the liquid from the tomatoes is pretty much gone. And the top, instead of looking just wet from tomato, it's starting to look shiny from oil. Can you guys see the difference between the last time I showed mine and now? No?
I think Kathy's ready for her protein.
Are you guys ready on tomato part? If you're ready, you can crumble in your protein.
Let's remove your cloves.
Take your clove string out. Yeah, let's do that. Let's find it. Is everybody with me now on tomatoes to move to protein? Yes, I see yes. Yes. I think everybody is. Thumbs up. Thumbs up from everywhere. Okay, let's do it. I am doing ground beef. For those of you that are doing the Beyond Meat, you can add that in the same way. You just want to crumble it in.
Mine looks very similar to yours, but it's a little bit, there's a little bit more liquid on the bottom. Is that okay to add the meat or wait?
I would wait maybe like a minute.
Okay.
And then go ahead and add it, yeah. So this onion and tomato and masala base that we made, you can actually use this for any meat that you want. So say you're like, hey, I have ground turkey, or I have ground chicken, or I have ground Impossible Burger. You can use this base and add whatever kind of protein you prefer. And then you can, I know there's somebody that is gluten-free, so you can make tacos out of it. Or you could eat it over rice. So you don't have to eat it on a bun.
We have somebody who's still cooking. The tomato's still wet.
That's fine. Just keep going with that. Leave it on medium-high.
Stella says rice sounds so good.
Keema is kind of universal. You can eat it with bread. You can eat it with rice.
Can can roll it up in a tortilla.
Roll it up in a tortilla. Make tacos, make burritos.
Vicky said she tasted it. It's spicy. She's glad she didn't add all the serrano.
Oh, good. For people for whom it's spicy, the good part is the dip you made has yogurt, so you can definitely eat it with that, and that'll cool it down a little. But yeah, again, so you can leave out the serrano, you can leave out the chili powder, and what is most comfortable for you, heat-wise. Are there any Beyond Meat people on the call? So the Beyond Meat, I just want to talk about that briefly, because the very first time I got it as a sample, I looked at it and I was like, whoa, this looks really weird, because it looks like cat food, kind of. And I was concerned that it would stay the same texture when I cooked it, but it doesn't. So once it's in there and once you cook it, it will sort of reconstitute itself, absorb all the flavors of your masala, and look like ground meat. Now that I have the meat sort of mixed in with the masala, I am gonna add another pinch of salt. And all this salting is just because I don't salt at the very end, unless when you taste it, you need some more. But ideally, you want to salt as you go.
Shan, so she just put her meat in.
Great. Man, this smells yummy. Maybe I'm hungry now.
I'm hungry.
While you're waiting for this to cook, if you are going to eat it on buns today, go ahead and slice your buns and go ahead and butter them.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you already made it. Stella's already made one.
Oh, it's great. Jocelyn, are you okay? Stella, you guys are already eating over there.
That's awesome.
Tim and Brandon, are you okay? Amy and Zach. I can't see Vicky, but Vicky, are you okay?
Yes.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Jocelyn says it was amazing. Thank you for lunch.
Yay.
Spices were divine.
Super. Don't forget about your dip. It's in the fridge. You should try it.
How much salt do we add with meat?
I just added a pinch. Like a healthy pinch. Generally, that's the only spice that I'm sort of like, here's just a pinch about is salt.
Can you show everybody what it looks like? Since we're in the home stretch.
Here we are. That's what I got. I see a lot of plates being plated. Oh, great.
If we have some liquid in it, should that will cook off?
Yeah, you want that to cook off.
Okay.
You want it to golden brown. You want it to brown a little bit, the meat, before you take it off. But at this point, we can add in our garam masala and the cilantro,
and then let it finish cooking with them. So garam masala, you're gonna use the whole package. I have mine in my little masala box, so I'm just using that. Now this mixture is obviously for way more than 4 sliders, but the reason for that is that you can eat it with rice or tortillas or more buns, or in a sandwich or however you want to eat it. Later in the day or later in the week, you can freeze it if you're not going to eat it right away. I'm going to give this another 2 minutes, and then I think we're ready to go too. How's everybody looking that hasn't already eaten? Let's take a look.
We got some pictures. Maybe it's Zach. We lost you, Zach. What kind of brown beef? Is it zero fat?
No, it does have a little fat, but it's lean. It's not zero fat. Bean chuck. Okay, I am going to take this because it looks done to see if I need to add anything.
Zach, are you guys okay? We lost you for a second.
Yeah, my iPad died, but I think what was the last step is just to add the cilantro and garam masala?
Cilantro and the garam masala, yeah.
Okay.
Did you say the whole bag?
Yeah.
Yeah, garam masala. Okay.
The little bag? Yes. That is measured. Oh, yeah, that's yummy. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Super good. Okay, I'm going to take this off because I only have 1 burner. But since you have 2, you can do your buns and finish the meat at the same time. So the buns that we have are potato buns, only because I like them because they don't have too much sweetness. If you like Hawaiian buns, they're good for this too. Or you could do a brioche bun. I really like the potato bun because it gets super soft when you toast it, but it still like holds on to its sort of bread identity. If at a later date, if you're making this or you're making something else that you think I can help you with, my email address is at the bottom of every page of your recipes. Feel free to shoot me an email. If it's an emergency, like you're in the middle of cooking something, you're like, oh no, I don't know what to do. I'm usually at the Anaheim location of Adya, so you can call there, and if I can help you over the phone, I definitely will. Okay, while I'm waiting for these.
How is it, Stephanie?
Hi, Chef.
Hi.
Will this demonstration, the video, be available later?
Yes, so the whole thing has been recorded, and Chloe is going to send it to everyone later today.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And same thing if you watch the video again, or you feel like you missed something, or there was a question that came up, if you made it again or saw it, definitely feel free to email or call me.
You can email her. I'll send everybody the email.
I'm gonna, since these are almost done, I am going to get my dip from the fridge so we could eat that too.
Oh, good, Kathy. Work out for Kathy, Molly. Shannon, Olivia, how are you doing?
We're done.
Did you try it?
We're getting it ready to try right now. I tasted the dip. The dip tastes amazing.
Yay! We need the dip. Here's the dip. All right, so here's our dip. We have chips with ours. And
I'll show you how it came out.
make some sliders. You want onions on yours? Okay. With the note for the pickled onions, if you're like, man, I wish I had pickled onions, but you don't have a beet, it's okay to do it without the beet. Just the color is not going to be as bright. We're just going to eat out of the bowl for that. I guess, you want it on your plate? Because it's just us. Because it's just us. Oh, I'm going to scoop out some dip with my chip and eat it.
I have a quick question. My meat is still cooking and it looks wonderful. It smells great. There's still some oil on the bottom of the pan. Should I just continue to let it cook before I?
Oil's okay. Oil won't go away. If it's oil, it won't go away.
Okay.
You can't, yeah, the oil will stay there. But if you are starting to see the oil at the bottom of the pan, that probably means you're done.
Okay, and then add the cilantro and the masala for just a little bit of time?
Yeah, just a couple minutes. So cilantro, garam masala, stir it up for a couple of minutes, and then you're good.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Vicky's never done that to her buns before. And Josh says, which is a better way to toast the buns? In the oven, broil, or bake?
In the oven. Bake would probably dry them out. If you have a toaster oven, I would toast them. But if you're just trying to do real quick, I would brush them with butter and broil them very, very quickly, like 1 minute or 2 minutes. And that way you'll get little char, but you won't get, they won't dry out. Because that's what makes them super good afterwards, is that they get really soft. And you can really feel sort of the butteriness if you do it in a pan.
It's delicious. Thank you.
Thank you. You made it. That's the thing.
Do you do other classes that we can join?
Yes. So we've just started doing Zoom classes. So we'll hopefully have another one in March, I think. And it's the same sort of thing where you can kind of join in. If you don't want to cook along, or if you want to cook along, you can get the kit. You can sign up for our email list. You can either just send us your email address right now and we can do it for you, or you can go on our website and sign up. It's at adiaoc.com, and then you'll get the newsletter that has updates. And you can also follow us on social media, and that definitely will have updates and stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was so good.
I'm so glad. I hope that you all enjoy it, and I know you'll have leftovers, so I hope you can enjoy them later today or tomorrow. And like I said, the Keema mixture you can freeze if you're like, well, I don't really want to eat this again for the next 3 days. You can freeze it and defrost it. The only thing I would say is kind of to refresh it at the time. If you're having cilantro, then have just add a little pinch more.
Everybody eating is making me hungry. Brian, thank you so much. You said it's delicious. Had a great time.
Yay!
Love seeing everyone eat.
I do too. Vicky, how's yours with the Beyond Meat?
Really good. It's really spicy, but I don't quite like spice, but I put all the chili powder in, but I didn't put all of the serrano in, which I'm glad, because I think it might blow my head off. But it's good. It's really good.
Great. And if you guys, Deanna just.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you, Chef. See you soon.
Thank you.
When's the next class? Would you happen to know?
We don't have a date yet.
It'll be within the next three or 4 weeks. So if you want, send me your email address. You guys can just leave it in the comments in the chat, and we'll add you to our email list. And that goes out with all of our class information and anything else that we have going on, so you can quickly sign up. And we sell kits, so you can pre-order just like this and then pick them up at our Irvine location or Anaheim location, and then cook along with us.
Got it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining today. It was so fun.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vicki, Suzanne, Max.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
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 You have to. Getting names will be gone, right?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you have it saved, right? Somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Jennifer, what did you think?
Did you cook along, Jennifer?
Oh, and Ashley wants to know what to do if she made it too spicy.
My mom was cooking along. She said the meat actually turned out really well. I haven't tried it yet.
Yay. Too spicy. She can add more protein, or when she's serving it, mix it with rice or serve it with a little bit of yogurt for the person that made it too spicy.
These non-chips are really good.
Thanks. I actually, they have everything bagel on them.
Any other questions? Okay, guys, well, this was fun.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions, you can always email Chef Shachi at info@adiaoc.com. It's in the chat, and she'll get back to you
as quickly as possible.
Yes.
If it's an emergency, call me.
She's usually at the Anaheim location. Okay, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.